Hello everyone, thank you to be here with me for this new tutorial, for this new OTBIOLAB tutorial. My name is Fabio, I am a software developer in OTBIOLETRONICA company, and today I would like to show you some new functionalities about Python and Matlab code integration. So today we'll see how to create some processing in the language you prefer between Matlab and Python and how to use inside the software. So as first step, we need to install the necessary components to use this kind of features. So here in this menu, you will find two submenus, Python settings and Matlab settings. If you click the check button here, you will see this red cross also in both of the submenus. That means that you are not able to run any sort of Python or Matlab functionalities. So as first thing that you have to do, we need to install the necessary components. So just click in the install button. The installation procedure will start. During this procedure, we install some processing that we created here in our company, obviously written in Python, and a Python environment which contains an interpreter to execute immediately your Python code. So at the end of this procedure, you will be ready to use the Python functionalities. If you're not quite skilled or you don't know too much about Python environment, don't worry about that. I will just let you in the description a link to Miniconda software. That is an easy software that allow you to interact with Python environment, change it, update it, or create a new one. And obviously through the software you can use the environment you install. Just as default option, we'll use the ones that we install. So let's see at the end of this procedure to keep going with our tutorial. Okay, the installation procedure has been completed, so just close this window. Now, if we click the check button, we see green symbols. That means that we are able to run Python processing inside the software. We do the same thing for Matlab. As we can see, the processing here is quite faster compared to the previous one. Here, if we click the check, we'll see these green symbols. Pay attention because Python doesn't work with interpreter and is not a free software. So you have to install an official version by your own. With the installation, we just install some Matlab processing that we created here in our company. So this green symbol means just that this installation has been completed, but you have to install an official license by your own. So close the window. Now we can really start with the tutorial. Let's open a file. I prepared the tutorial file for this purpose. Now let's see where all the things that we installed can be found. So here there is in custom processing button, there is a huge list of Python and Matlab processing. Here there are all the processing that we have already installed. Here there are some categories. Every processing has a category, and so the category works exactly like a filter. So if you click on it, you will see just the processing that share the same category, that is the amplitude category. It's the same for the frequency and math and so on. So let's come back to all visualization. Now let's begin. Let's start to run, for example, the ARV, so ARV Python processing. So let's see, for example, for choose selection and for another track. The processing is executed on all the selections that we did. So just open it. This menu will be showed, and you will be able to see the language used to write the code, a simple description, and parameters that you can change, obviously from the software, and that are used to estimate the ARV. So just click the run button, and now the computer is estimating the processing. Okay, the processing is concluded. So as we can see, we can find the results in the results tab, and as I already told you, the processing has been executed in all the selections that we did. But obviously, this kind of functionality is quite similar to the native processing functionality, no? And but the particular thing is that here we can create our own processing, and so let's see how we can do it. Let's remove these selections. Just click on this button here. Let's add a processing title. Let's add something more complicated like tutorial processing. Category. Let's add a category. We already discussed it when we talk about this side menu. A description, Here there is the language that you can choose, so Python or Matlab. I will show you the Python, but the same concepts can be extended to Matlab functionalities. So just click the Insert button. As you can see, our categories have already been updated. So now if you click the tutorial, you will see the tutorial processing. Obviously, you can also find it in the all visualization. So here there is the tutorial processing. There is the simple description. Obviously, there are no parameters and the language we used. Now, before going on, I want just to show you a simple difference between the symbol. This is a processing that you create by your own, and with this symbol are all the processing that we created in our company and that have been installed through the installation procedure. So, the default processing cannot be updated or deleted through the software. Indeed, if you open it, you will see this button cannot be pressed, and you cannot update the code, but with the tutorial processing you can. So let's see how you can do it. We created, I clicked just 2 times. We created this editor, a text editor, that allow you to do some simple updates of the code. You can see the code of the processing, obviously the categories, the description. You can also change it by here. And here there is an example function that is applied. This is quite simple, just take the input and return the input as an output without doing nothing, more or less. So let's see how we can update it, for example. Let's add, remember this is not an IDE, so it's a simple text editor. So there are limited functionalities. So now I do, for example, this kind of thing, a simple update of the code. There is no IntelliSense in it, just a text editor. So now we are doing a simple multiplication by 10. And as you can see in the editor, you can save the code. Here there is an output console that shows you some simple information. You can open the path to the processing. So for example, in this situation with a simple folder explorer, here you find exactly the same file that we are visualizing in the editor, and obviously you can run the code. Now, why I should have to run it in the code editor? Because I'm able to capture all the print of the script, the error of the script, and this will be visualized on output console. If you run it through this button, this information will not be visible, because you have no output console that takes the output of the processing. So just let's move by side. Let's take a simple selection, just one, and run the processing here and see what's happened. Okay, so here you can see some messages like conclude data loading, start data saving, and so on, that are some default message that we add. And here you will see that if we go to see, for example, here to see the effect of our processing, here you can see a vertical scale around this value, and here in the same section you will see something that is 10 times higher. So our multiplication, our 10 factor multiplication has worked. But this is not ended. How we can add some parameters here in this menu? It's quite easy. The software check all the content of the processing. So if you want, you can add, for example, a tutorial parameter here and add, for example, the 10 value, and then we can do, for example, tutorial parameter. We can save to see if we did the thing properly. Let's try to run it and see if all the things work properly. Okay, we obtained exactly the same results as before, but with a parameter. But here we don't see any update. How we can see it? Just click the refresh button. If you click the refresh button and go right there, now you can find the tutorial parameters that we added. So we check it that the processing is working, so we can close it right now. Close also the results, and then here you can add, for example, a 20 value. And so if we run it again, here you can see exactly the double value, double higher compared to the previous one. So our updates are working, the processing is working, and so we saw together how to use the text editor to do this simple modification. You can also change the title of the track. Let's see immediately how it can be done. So let's open the text editor. Here there is a string that we can see, the example. I will just want to add, for example, tutorial example, so I can save it, close it, and then I can, let me give it a refresh. And so if I do my selection, I click again the run button, and here you can see the update of the title. So more or less the things that I want to show you in this first tutorial have been covered. So thank you to follow me in this tutorial, and this is not the end. There are a lot of new features that I want to show you, so I will do another tutorial that will go deeper in this kind of concept. So see you at the next time, and have a nice day. Bye.